Okay, hold
Last
on.
final stretch.
Jack, it's not starting. It's not working.
Oh,
right.
there's Paul something in my neck.
No, in the wig.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. First of all, we're on wave. Is everyone there? I think we're working now.
Hello.
Are we live?
We are live. We are live.
Hello!
Everybody.
Woo! Come on, we can do it like a zoo on Radio 2. Whoa! Woo! We're here!
Could we just very quickly do a Mexican wave? So it'll be me, Louise, Mark, and then John. Okay, and a Mexican wave. You ready? Brilliant. Thank God you write books. Right, first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me on my first official Tracy Talks 2. I chose the three of you, not because you're good authors, well, obviously not, but because I knew you were up for a laugh and we can have a bit of fun.
We're like your guinea pigs.
Yes. So I'd like to just ask you each to introduce yourselves to our growing audience, and we'll start with obviously the only lady in the lady in the room, Miss Beech. If you would kindly introduce yourself.
What are you going to Louise for then?
Introduce yourself. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Hold on, the dog.
My name's Louise.
Yeah, okay, I'm Louise Beech. This was my last book, which my husband wrote. Shit. No, seriously. So this was my most recent book. I've written 6 books. No, I've written 9 actually. I've published 6. How many have I sold? About 4 in Hessel, a few in London.
Family that's not included, Louise.
Oh, okay. Half in Hessel I've sold. And yeah, I don't know what else to say really. Next.
Mark, tell us about yourself. Who are you? Introduce yourself to our viewers, please.
Well, I'm sure everyone has heard of me already. I'm Mark Edwards. I'm here with my Lana Del Rey twins here. They have been watching over me over lockdown and looking after me. I have written, I think, 10 solo books, and I did 6 with Louise Voss. And the latest one was called The House Guest. Let me find it. There it is. A thumping good read. And none of my books have yet been adapted for Netflix, which causes me a lot of pain. But apart from that, everything's good.
Good.
Over to you, Mr. Mars.
My name is John Mars. I am a poor man's Mark Edwards. I have written 8 books. My most recent one, hold on a second, is The Minders, which came out a few months ago.
That looks familiar.
I actually had 2 that came out this year, that one and Lies Between Us, so I write for 2 different publishers. And they don't really ever communicate, so the first I know is when I'm looking on Amazon and there's one coming out 1 month and another one coming out 2 months later, which is nice. But yes, so yeah, that's me. I started off self-publishing and I'm lucky enough to, as I say, write for a couple of publishers.
Thank you very much. Right, I've set out some nice, easy questions for you. So I'd like, again, we'll start with Louise, if you don't mind. Can you tell us about your journey to publication?
Do you want the silly answer or the sensible answer?
I think the silly answer is actually probably more fun.
Well, the silly answer is it was to get off the streets. Real answer is my journey to publication was a long journey. Took 10 years, 4 books, all of which were rejected by every publisher in the country and every agent in the country. Then finally was published in 2015 by Arenda Books. How to Be Brave was my debut, although it was the 4th one that I actually wrote. So I suppose the key is don't give up.
Whereas with John Mars, we wish he had. So Mark, your journey to publication, please.
Well, it's very similar to Louise's. I think we've all had quite similar stories. None of us are those annoying authors who write one book, get accepted by the first agent it's sent to, sparking a huge bidding war among publishers, and a 7-figure advance and film deal for that first novel. It took me years, 10, 15 years. And I, like John, started out by self-publishing eventually, after many years of trying. So I self-published a couple of books with Louise, and they did really well. We then got a deal with HarperCollins, and that went horribly badly. And then I self-published again with the Magpies back in 2013, and that book pretty much saved my career and got me out of a terrible sort of financial hole that I was in. And I haven't looked back since then. I've been with Thomas & Mercer ever since, and I think The House Guest was my 10th solo book with them. And yeah, I make a living doing it now, but it took a very long time to get to that point. But I think it makes you appreciate it more, doesn't it?
Definitely, definitely. And John, tell us all about how I made you who you are today.
And how I made you too. I wrote a book called The Wrong Sons. I just wanted to see whether I could write a book. I was working as a journalist at the time. Like other guys, I wrote to, I think I've got about 82 agents and publishers I wrote to, and I was rejected by every single one of them. So I saw on Amazon that you could do some self-publishing. So after licking my wounds for a bit, I thought, I'll put it on there, see if I have any joy. And my idea was to try and get 100 people that I didn't know to download it. And it gradually took off and off and off, which is how you and I, Tracy, got to know each other, because you got in touch with me, saying that you liked it. And promoted it to a few people in a book group, and it just kind of took on a life of its own. And I think I was on my third book. It was my third book when someone got in touch from Penguin, asking if they could take it on to publish it mainstreamly, and at the same time, someone from Thomas & Mercer, same label as Mark's, got in touch to see whether they could do another one of my books. And I managed to kind of run them concurrently ever since. So I appreciate I've been incredibly lucky, very, very lucky. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have to say that I need to say that I find it very funny that Tracy's obviously two favourite male authors
couldn't make it today.
Me.
Were both born on exactly the same day.
It's random, isn't it?
And Louise, you were born like a month apart from us or something, weren't you?
12 days.
12 days.
Isn't that insane?
It's so weird.
1970 was a pretty cool month.
It was, yeah.
Someone should write a book about that.
Yes.
Louise, what's your usual writing process? How do you go around your...
Tracy doesn't like it when we deviate from the question.
Yeah, do you mind? I've got like... do you mind?
Do you mean the physical process of sitting down, or do you mean do we plot and all that kind of thing?
Yes, do you plot and all that kind of thing? I don't mean which finger do you type with and things.
Those two. I'm a two-fingered
same here.
Yeah.
Sometimes I employ third and fourth fingers.
Just those two. Or those two. Sorry. So, no, do I plot? No, I don't plot at all. I just set off, and I never ever know the end before I get to the end. I like to kind of discover the story as I go, and a lot of people say, how do you write it? You don't know what the story is. But I have a loose idea in my head. I'll have like a theme, and well, that might happen, and the characters, and then it unfolds as I actually sit down and do it. For example, with Call Me Stargirl, I thought I'd finished it, and I'd decided who did it, so to speak. And then, just to give you a really good visual, and then I was in the bath. And
my glasses just steamed up.
I was about to click send and send it to my publisher, and I realised that wasn't the killer, and it was someone else. Won't say who, in case someone of the 3 people who've read it, in case another 4th person wants to read it. I changed my mind and rewrote the end. So yes, I don't plot. I just set off.
I think panthers are vastly superior to plotters.
Does that mean you are? Is that how you do? Do you write from the seat of your pants?
I write in my pants as well. I'm using BBC catchphrases here. Sorry, say that again?
My glasses have just steamed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I make it up as. I mean, I have a vague idea of what's happening, but I don't usually know who done it or anything at the start, and I never know how it's going to end. And it's a quite uneconomical way of writing because it means you have to do lots of rewriting and lots of editing and it causes lots of pain. But I simply can't do it any other way. I've tried, and I can't actually make up the story until I'm sitting there writing it and I've got the characters kind of on the page and in my head. So, and I think it makes it more fresh and more surprising and more exciting for the reader as well as the writer. Are you a pantser too, John?
I kind of swing both ways, Mark.
Do you?
My first few books were all basically pantsing. And then the last couple, I thought, when I started working, doing the whole book thing full time, I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to sit and try and plot a book out. And I do find it helps, but then I do deviate from the plot quite a bit. And once you both know it's like, once you get started and your book can take so many different directions and so many twists and turns that often the final version isn't anything like the version that I sat and plotted out. But I'm also not a methodical writer. I don't know about you guys. I can't write a start, a middle, and an end. I kind of dip in here and there. And like, if I'm in one mood for one character, I'll write about them. Or if I'm on a different day, I'll write. I can't do anything methodically.
I can't do that. I have to write it in order, otherwise my brain it would be too disordered for me to do that. I have to write it in order, even if a lot of it needs rewriting later. When Louise and I were writing together, we did it like that. We would write all out of order and take different characters and then just kind of patch it all together at the end and somehow turn it into a book that made sense. But no, it has to be from page 1 to 300 kind of written in the right order. Actually, I'm about to start writing another book, and I have actually, for the first time ever, plotted most of it out because I think during lockdown I just had more time to kind of think and work it out. So for the first time ever, I've got a book that I've plotted. So we'll see how it actually works when I sit down to actually write it.
That'll be interesting to hear when you finish that, how rigidly you've stuck with it.
Yeah.
But as you said, when you are a pantser, which I still tend to do a bit of, you do find yourself, when you're going back to do your rewrites, doing a hell of a lot more because your characters have deviated so much and the storyline has deviated so much from the early drafts.
Yeah, and I always rewrite the end right at the very last second as well. I mean, I think nearly all of my books, I've written the last chapter or the epilogue kind of at the third or fourth round of it going with my editor, even like up to the copy edits phase. I'll suddenly think of a better ending and rewrite the ending. So I never know how it's going to end until like the very last second.
Yeah.
Keeps it all very exciting.
Yes. What about you, Louise?
What?
What about you, Louise? What do you?
Same as Mark. I have to write it in order.
Okay, you're a chronological writer as well.
Yeah, chronological. Because I have to go on the journey with them, and I feel like if I come out of the journey, it'd be like time traveling. But that'd actually be quite cool. So maybe I should do that.
I just think for me, the thought of having to sit down in front of a computer, knowing that you've got to write, I mean, my books are around about 100,000 words, and the thought of just suddenly starting with, and say maybe get 5,000 to 6,000 words through in a couple of days, oh my God, I've still got another 90-odd thousand to go. That just kind of fills me with dread. So therefore, if I do bits and I patch stuff together towards the end, it makes the writing process more pleasurable for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter really how you do it, does it? As long as you get there in the end.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wonder whether are readers interested in this kind of stuff, or do they just care about? Do they care about how the book is created, or do they just care about the finished product?
I do. I'm a writer.
Yeah, because I'm a bit of a music geek, and I love hearing about how records were made and put together. And I watch like Song Exploder and listen to that podcast, and I find it fascinating. And I kind of wonder whether people who aren't writers, whether they find the nuts and bolts really interesting. Because I think that most people have this idea that you just come up with an idea for a book, and as long as you've got the time to write it, because most people think that that's what writing a book takes, is an idea and the time. You just sit down and write it all out in one go, and then somebody comes along and corrects the spelling mistakes. I think that's what most people think writing a book is like. It's much harder than that.
See, when you're talking about whether readers are interested in nuts and bolts, I think it depends on the book for me. So Louise and I just finished reading A Little Life, and after reading that, then I'm just kind of trying to find out everything I can about the author and about the writing process for that. But if it was just a kind of an average book, obviously like one of Louise's, then I probably wouldn't give a stuff.
I've started that book twice, but I've never persisted with it.
Oh, you are.
It's an epic, but it's a hard slog.
I'm still thinking about it after like a week and a half. I thought of something else, but I won't say here because I don't want to ruin it for someone else. So I'll message you. But
I've got the hardback, and it's so vast, so big, and kind of. Maybe I should get it on Kindle. It might make it a bit.
I audio booked it, Mark, but it's 32 hours. I had to listen to it at 1.5 times the speed.
I read it on Kindle.
When you're listening to, I can't listen to novels on audiobooks because my mind wanders, and then I find I've missed a bit. I listen to non-fiction loads, but I can't listen to fiction.
You ever listen to your own when they're on audiobook?
No.
Actually, that's one of my questions, John. That's one of my questions. Shut up.
Sorry.
Thank you. Honestly. Right, before we go on, we have got at least 3 people from TBC who are online at the moment. Some of them are saying things, but I wanted the first one to say hi, Judy. She will read one of your books for the challenge, but she has to order it from the UK because she lives abroad. So on your marks, get set.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy. What was the question?
Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
You just had to say hi, Judy, and she'd order your book.
Sorry.
So just
the first person who said hi, Judy, won the book sale.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking at. I can't scroll through.
Hang on, are there only 3 people from TBC watching?
No, at the moment there's 64.
Oh.
My screen keeps freezing. Philippa says, Mark, she's really sorry to say she's yet to read your books, which is odd because Philippa has been a member of the book club since it started and you were the author who cannot be named. But she said, which book would you recommend she starts with and what's so good about it?
I would start with Here to Stay because I think that's the best one. It's about in-laws from hell. I think everybody can identify with it. And it's just... the reason it's so good is it will make you want to scream and shout at the baddies from reaching to the book and throttle them. It will fill you with rage, hatred, and frustration. And for me, that's a good reading experience.
Okay.
It might make you so stressed out that you'll have to take a tranquilizer.
Interesting. And if you need tranquilizers, then obviously Louise is our dealer, so she can help with things like that.
I just read John's books for tranquilizers.
Well, that's just anyone suffering from insomnia. So let's talk about your most recent books. That was, if anyone just saw that was my son in the side, decided to pop his head in. Your most recent books and what was the inspiration behind it? Let's start with John, because I think there's nobody in the world that actually hasn't read your most recent book. So just for the odd one person that hasn't, do you want to talk about it?
What are we talking about, The Minders or What Lies Between Us?
Let's talk about what lies between us.
Cool. I read Eleanor Oliphant's, which I was struggling to say, and I really loved that book. It's not the kind of book I would normally go for, but I really enjoyed it. And I like the mother and daughter kind of relationship. I don't want to say anything more about it in case anyone's not read that one. But I wanted to write my own book, but a kind of almost an anti-Eleanor Oliphant book about 2 women who absolutely hated each other and who shared a house, and you kind of gradually find out why they hate each other and all these little things that they keep doing to each other over the last 25 years to get to the stage they are now. So yeah, it's quite simple, really.
Thank you. Mark, what about you? Can you just come up?
The inspiration...
tell us about your most recent book and what was
it's the House Guest, which I'll show you again. There you go. Currently £1 on Kindle.
Wow.
I know. I mean, it's worth
At
nearly
least
every penny.
£1.05p, I would have said.
Exactly. And it's set in New York, and it's about a couple who are house sitting for this couple that they met on holiday in Brooklyn. And then one day, a young woman turns up on the doorstep and claims that she knows the owners of the house, and that they said if she was ever in New York, then she could come and stay. And so my main characters, this nice, naive young couple, let her in. And of course, she's not who she claims to be, and lots of weird shit ensues. Am I allowed to say that?
Well, yeah, we'll bleep it out later, because don't
This
worry.
isn't
We got
4,
potty
is it?
mouth Beech over there, so I'm sure that's the least of our worries.
And it was inspired, I don't know what it was inspired by, I just had this vision of this woman turning up during a rainstorm and asking to be let in, and then I didn't really know where to go with it from that point. And then I just embarked on writing the book, and as we were explaining earlier, I then had to kind of figure it out as I went along. And I wanted to set a book in America, and New York felt like the perfect setting, so everyone's so familiar with it. And I went with my family and including my 3 kids, to stay in New York during the summer to research it. And we actually stayed in the house where the book is set. So that was a brilliant way of getting some money back from the tax man. And that was the inspiration behind that book.
Thank you. Louise, talk about your latest.
Right, I'm not going to talk about technically the latest, because
No.
I've talked about that all year. It came out in February,
Oh.
so I'm not going to talk about dust. Is that all right? I'm sick of it. I'm going to talk about the one that's coming out in June and in paperback, and in April in ebook, which the cover reveal is coming soon. And I think it's just a juicy one to talk about. So it's called This Is How We Are Human, and it was inspired by a real life dilemma, for want of a better word. So I have a friend called Fiona Mills, who's a radio host, and she has twin boys who are autistic. Sean is quite high on the spectrum, where he may never live independently, probably always will live with them. So about 2 years ago, me and Fiona met in a restaurant, and she was really emotional, and she confided in me, which by the way is fatal, don't confide in me. Use it as a story. That Sean, he was about 20 at the time, and he just wanted to meet a girl, but more than that, he just wanted to have sex. And she said there's no help anywhere, because he finds it really difficult to meet a girl. The minute they speak to him, and they realise that he's on the spectrum, they can be quite unkind, not interested. And she said, I mean, it was getting to the point where he would just ask random people in the street if they'd have sex with him, which is obviously a problem. I mean, I tried
Stop,
John. Seriously, that's what happened. I mean, one time apparently he asked an old lady on a bus, but apparently she was lovely about it. But it was even though, I mean, I've been light-hearted, it was a serious issue. She was quite concerned. And she said to me that her and her husband the night before had literally said, do we just go with him to Amsterdam and just pay a professional? And she said, am I a really bad mother for even thinking about that? And I just said, no. Why would you be? He's 20 years old, he's an adult. Why would anyone think that? Is it just because he's autistic and they're thinking he's a vulnerable adult? So when she told me, obviously, I just thought, there's a story there. And I already had a character in my head called Isabel, who's a nurse, who's a high-class escort. So when she told me that, I just thought, I've now got my story. And
well, it sounds brilliant. It sounds brilliant.
I used the story. All I'll say is that his mum does go down the avenue of paying a high-class escort. I won't say any more than that. So that's not...
I can't wait to read that.
It sounds really good. Do you watch The Undateables?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. I love that programme. There's a couple on that. There's that guy who's like, the guy with like the curly hair is in a band. Daniel, is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love him so much.
I think that programme kind of is designed to make us just laugh, isn't it? It's fun. So I actually thought maybe I wanted to explore it a bit more seriously.
Yeah.
I know I am a silly person, but in my books I'm always quite serious. So that was what I wanted
Yeah,
to
it's
do.
quite hard actually to read your books and then meet you in real life, because you are a complete opposite of what you would expect. I always thought you were a lady, and when I met you for the first time, I was shocked. We've got quite a few questions that are coming on, apart from mine, obviously my wonderfully scripted ones, but I'm going to ask a few from the group. Philippa McKenna, and I think I'm going to know what John and Louise are going to say to this. Out of all the books you've read, which one do you wish you'd written and why? And I think we've just discussed it.
Yeah, I think it could quite well be A Little Life, or you know what, I might also go for. I'm a big fan of John Boyne. I've only really got into him in the last couple of years. I'm just looking on my bookshelf here. I think The Heart's Invisible Furies is one of the best books I've ever read.
Yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I'd love to be able to write an epic book like that, but I just.
His latest one was a bit.
I loved it, Mark. I thought
Did you?
it wasn't the easiest book in the world to read.
I found it really frustrating, just the way it kept. And the thing with the Legend of Zelda thing, and it was hilarious.
Just a bit embarrassing, wasn't it?
Because I spotted it when I read it, and I was like, that was so funny. I went and told my son about it, 'cause he's a massive Zelda fan, and he thought it was hilarious. And I thought, you must have done it deliberately, and he just got it off of Google. Ingredients to... But yeah, I love him. Heart's Invisible Furies is brilliant.
Yeah, so I'd go for one of those.
Made me cry so much. That
Before
book.
Philippa's asking questions here non-stop here. She's taking over my job. She wants to know, Louise, which of your books would you most like to be remembered for? Although Joel thinks that sounds like a threat. Like maybe she's going to kill you now after you've just... But anyway, which of your current books?
That's difficult. I don't think it's any of the ones that have actually been published yet, actually. I like the one I've just finished, and maybe my memoir, which is with my agent at the minute. I don't know, it's tricky, that one.
Okay. Gail Shaw wants to know, how much do you all feel that TBC has contributed to your success? And I didn't put her up to that. It was nothing to do with me.
Jot.
Say that again, Joe?
Not a jot.
Not
Nothing whatsoever. I think from my perspective, I think I've been quite fortunate that when I started writing, it was about the time when Tracy, you started TBC. I think I was on my second book then. That's what I've explained how you and I got to know each other. So yeah, I think definitely it's been a huge way to start my career with TBCers, and their support the whole way through. I think it's been absolutely amazing. There's no other book club like it.
Very, very quickly, I just need to let... Michelle Young wants to just say, can I just check, we can see you, but you can't see us, as I've just had a shower. I need to know, do I need to get dressed? No, Michelle, you can stay and watch us naked, because if you actually pan down and see the rest of us, you'll see that we're all naked from the waist down as well, so it's fine. Heidi wants to know, if the four of us were to get together to work on a project, who would do what?
Well, we need to know what kind of project
Yeah, I
it
know.
is.
I mean,
don't we?
is it like a DIY, a house?
If it was like The Apprentice, we were a team on The Apprentice, who would be the leader?
I'll be
Who's the
fluffer.
bossiest?
I think Mark would be the leader.
Yeah.
I'm very good on lists and spreadsheets. I could do the organisation. That'd be good for me.
Yeah.
I'll do something really menial and then try and big myself up in the boardroom afterwards.
Well, that's what you do in life, so I think that'd be quite...
Someone
John,
would be there just backstabbing.
Maddie
and-
wants to know, when is the one out on Netflix,
Oh
please?
God, the question I get asked seriously about 5 or 6 times a day at least at the moment. It was supposed to be in October time, then because of COVID, etc., the post-production got delayed. So I believe it's early next year. So like maybe February, March, April time, but I don't have an exact date.
Okay. Do you enjoy meeting, well, she says TBC fans, but I'm just going to say in general, do you enjoy meeting your readers? When you could, after, before COVID?
Yeah. I love it. And I love going to festivals and events and talking to people and being recognised in Sainsbury's and things like that. It's great.
Have you really ever been recognised in Sainsbury's?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been recognised a few times on the street. And
So does Louise, but that's from a previous job.
This was my greatest moment as an author. I was at Euston Station with my daughter about 2 years ago, and I was queuing for the toilets, and I saw somebody go to her companion, "That's Mark Edwards." point at me like that.
Because you were in the
And it
ladies'
was
toilets.
I actually felt like a proper famous person just for a moment.
John, you love
And that
meeting
was
your
the only
fans.
time it's ever happened.
So what did you say, Tracy?
I said you must love meeting your fans, your Mars groupies.
Yeah, but I never do panels, and I never do book signings or anything like that. I like meeting people on a one-to-one basis. So, like, for example, I think Harrogate's the only book thing I've really ever been to a few times. And I enjoy that because you could just like kind of cozy up against people, just have a little chat, and you could be a bit of fanboy.
2 meters apart now, though.
Say again?
2 meters apart now, though.
Yes, obviously 2 meters apart now.
I can't wait to hug everybody.
But I wouldn't like, the thought of doing a panel and just like being in front of stage in front of people scares the bejesus out of me. And
I don't understand that. Well, I mean, I used to be scared of public speaking, but I think you would be great.
Very good, very good.
I'm going to get you to do an event with me.
I'll arrange it, and then Louise will do the PR,
And I'll
and there's our
hold your
project.
hand.
Yeah. I think my connection's about to go on this. That leave button that my mouse is hovering over.
One of my next questions was, do you ever reread your own books? And then Alistair Puddick from TBC has actually asked, do you ever revisit your published books and make changes to them? Do you ever wish you could? Sorry, do you ever wish you could make changes? So the question, first question, do you ever reread your books? And 2, if you could, would you make any changes to them? Louise?
Once it's published, no, I don't read them again, because by then we've read them about 600 times, doing edits and all the rewrites. No, but I do listen on audiobooks. I suppose that's classed as reading it again. But that's just because I want to hear how the person's interpreted it. It's just interesting. And what was the second part?
If you knowing what you know now, would you change anything of any of your books? Would you?
Yeah, I do sometimes think of a previous book and then have a sudden idea of what I should have added that and had that. That does happen, but it's too late once it's published, I believe.
Mark, have you ever reread any of your books?
I do sometimes look at them to try and remind myself of how to write a book. Because every time, I don't know whether you two are the same, but I feel like every time I start a new book, I've forgotten how to do it. And sometimes I'll get stuck and I'll go back to my old books to try and remind myself of how I solved that problem last time. And also just to kind of marvel at my own prose. But actually, if I had to sorry, am I shouting? If I had to rewrite, I think The Magpies, even though it's the most popular, the one that people say in polls is still their favourite, I think there's lots of really clunky stuff in that, and there's probably too much sex in it. I should probably take out at least one of the sex scenes. I think I overdid it slightly in that book.
John?
In my youth.
John, do you reread?
I will listen to the audiobook version of it. That'll be the last time I ever hear it, because like as Louise says, but at that point you've listened to it about 600 times, you've read it about 600 times. And I mainly listen to it just to be critical of myself and just pick it to pieces. And oh my God, why have I used that same phrase about 10 times in the last 10 minutes? Or I like listening to the various actors who play the parts and seeing what kind of emphasis they put on words and phrases and how they do it. But yeah, that'll be the last time. I'll never pick it up again.
I think sometimes I have to go, because when you've written lots of books, as we all have, it gets harder and harder to think of new ways to
be original.
Yeah, to scare people, or there's only so many times you can have somebody being followed down a dark alley, or so many times you can have, I don't know, somebody thinking they've got a stalker or whatever. There's or so many ways you can say their blood ran cold.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to kind of go back to refer to the old books to remind myself of what I've already done. It must be, if you write a series, it must be so hard to keep track of everything and all the minor characters. Also character names as well, because you don't want to repeat names from previous books.
I mean, these
really
people
hard.
that constantly use my name in books is just getting boring.
Yeah, I know.
I'm totally running out of names.
Joe Kelly has never read a book by Louise, and she would like someone to recommend a good one, please. Have either of you read any of Louise's books? Or Louise, do you want to put one of your books forward?
I've had the unfortunate privilege of reading all of Louise's books, and I would say Lion Tamer that was my favourite of her books. Closely followed by, I had the very, very big privilege of reading your next one, which I think you've got a title for yet, have you?
No,
A couple that you're working on the
true.
title. Yeah, so I think possibly that one would be my next favourite, has intrigued me the most. Although your one about the autistic boy, I enjoyed it very much because I've not read anything like that. And what I like about you is that you cannot predict from one book to the next what you're going to write. So I don't think you can go wrong if you dip into any of Louise's books, and you'll find something completely different.
Thank you. I'm not going to add to that. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, so I think we should move on now to one of my favourite subjects, which is reviews, and especially bad reviews and one-star.
Let me get something.
Hang on. Okay. Whilst Mark is whatever.
Only took a second.
Okay, so obviously, if you follow my website, and I'm sure some of you have, you've been very kind enough to read out your one-star reviews to camera on my blog, which is absolutely hysterical. Do you actually read your reviews still? And how do you cope with the bad ones? Alistair wants to know. Louise, sorry.
Yes, I do read them. Maybe about once a month I'll go on Goodreads and go on Amazon and have a look what's up there. Obviously sometimes there's some nice ones. The bad ones, obviously I'm human and they used to hurt, but I've built a bit of a thick skin, and what I tend to do now, I think I'm ready for my third, to be fair. I've written like a found poem using all the bad reviews, and then it ends up being utterly comical. I've done that twice now. The first one was called Amazon Should Do 0 Stars, because somebody reviewed my book and said that they wished Amazon did 0 stars.
If I could give it less than 1 star, I would.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I make it funny, it's kind of you own the bad reviews. So now I actually go and hope there's some 1-star reviews, and I'm sure there will be again next time.
John, you're obviously used to 1-star reviews. How do you cope with them?
I think for the first couple of weeks I'll have a look at the reviews, because I want to know like what the average kind of ratings are and see how it's doing. I very rarely go on Goodreads. I don't really get how Goodreads operates, how it works. So it's mainly kind of Amazon that I'll go on. I think maybe I'm quite thick-skinned. I think I used to work as a journalist for like so many years. So you get used to people criticising you. Some of them can get a little bit personal sometimes. But if people like give a decent enough reason and explain why they don't like it, rather than just saying this is rubbish or this is a load of bollocks, then fine. There are plenty of books that I read that I don't like. No offence, Mark, that I haven't bothered finishing, Mark, and that I've left 1-star reviews for. No offence, Mark. So there are plenty of stuff that I don't like. So everyone's got a right to dislike anything that I do.
Mark?
Yeah, same as John. I'll read them for the first. I always read the ones that come out before the book's published. So all the kind of bloggers' reviews and the people who get the early copies and put reviews up on Goodreads. I will read them up to publication day, and then I stop, and then I will start reading the ones on Amazon just the first couple of weeks. But my best ever bad review was for the Magpies, and it basically the heading was "Floppy Dogs Crack," and the review said, "Rimming my dog is more exciting than reading this book." 2 stars.
Well,
I stand by that.
Had it made into a Anna Mazzola had it made into a Mazzola, sorry. Had it made into a tapestry for me. Can you see that?
But in fairness, Mark, we haven't seen her dog, so it. Now that actually leads me on quite nicely to a little quiz I've put together, where I've taken some of your 1-star reviews, and I'm going to read out a sentence, and I would like you to tell me whose book they're referring to and the name of the title. It's going to be quite easy. We're going to start with this one. At least the cat survived.
That's me here to stay.
Oh, is that? I thought I'd seen that on yours.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
very
that's
good.
it.
1 point to Mark. Sexual reference and scenes for me were amateurish and could be mistaken for having been written by an adolescent.
I feel like I've had that one.
I don't think it's mine, because I don't think I've really written any sex scenes.
Mike.
I mean, it could be mine, but are you going to do 2 of mine in a row? That's
Yeah,
I think
well.
probably Louise.
Mark, maybe Mark then.
I'm going Louise.
Yeah, it was John Mars, the one.
What's that? In the one?
Okay.
Wow, that's such the most subtlest of sex scenes as I don't even remember writing.
When I opened the case to take the book out, MP3, it broke in half. 1 star.
I remember reading that.
Classic. That was Louise Beech. Call me Stargirl.
That's the best kind of 1-star review to go.
I am actually annoyed with myself for persevering with this nonsense. If it wasn't 2020 and stuck in lockdown, it would have never have happened.
I think that's one of mine. I've definitely had a 2020 COVID reference, and I'd rather have COVID than read one of my books again.
That's correct, Mark. Yes, John Mars, that is yours. What lies between us?
Yes.
It's not often that I throw a book in the recycling bin halfway through, but this one I did.
That rings a bell. That rings a bell. Is it In Her Shadow?
Probably, but it was also the Magpies.
Oh, it's the Magpies, wasn't it? Okay.
I gave up reading it and went off to read something else instead, which I enjoyed much better.
That's mine. I remember that. That's in one of my poems.
That was The Lion Tamer Who Lost. Thank you. Okay, lovely. And I'd just like to thank everyone to remind you how important reviews are, except when they're like that. So moving on, we've got some more questions, but I'm going to do mine first. If you had a film made of your life, which actor or actress, Louise, should play you?
Rowan Atkinson, I think, would be really good at playing me.
I can see the similarity. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, in the Mr. Bean character.
Okay. Mark?
Oh God, I don't know. I find big questions like this really hard to answer. I just can't think.
You've had a week to think about it.
Oh, well, that hasn't been at the forefront of my mind. No, I don't know. How about one of the zombies from The Walking Dead?
Okay. John?
I am going to go Brian Blessed, because I think he would be hilarious playing the book. This big, bearded, deep-voiced man would be amazing.
Because I can see the similarity with
Yes.
Louise. Apart from books, Philippa wants to know again, what are your other real-life passions, Mark? Lana Del Rey,
Karaoke.
obviously.
Karaoke. I love karaoke. And cats. And
Cats, the new film. The new film.
I love cats. Yeah, the film Cats. I can never stop staring at Idris Elba dressed as a cat.
Lovely. Okay, Louise, any real life passions?
Sensible ones.
I don't know, we can put this out after the watershed.
Yes, trying to put an end to world poverty is actually mine.
Yeah, so not dogging on the foreshore, not that, I don't like that.
Anymore, yeah, it's cold.
It's anyway, the distance now is really hard to do stuff like that. Theatre, I love the theatre, I do work in the theatre, which sadly, obviously, I've not been working in since March. I do love Marilyn Monroe, huge Marilyn Monroe fan, she's all over the house. Not literally in pieces.
In pieces, yeah. Her leg is under the stairs.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned Lana Del Rey is
You
my
should have.
other.
It has been mentioned a few
That's
times,
fine.
yes. John?
I do like watching. Well, before I had my son, I would watch a lot of box sets and a lot of TV, because when I worked as a journalist, it was in TV and film and that kind of stuff, so I've got to watch a lot of stuff, but now I don't just have the time. So if I can grab a couple of hours pottering around in the garden like an old man or taking the dog for a walk, then I am in my little personal heaven.
What was your favourite TV series of this year?
This year?
The Queen's Gambit.
I love that.
Same here, yeah.
Phenomenal. They're doing something on TV. I just saw an advert. They're behind the scenes or something. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've become obsessed with playing chess as well since the Queen's Gambit. And I literally do play it every day online now. And I play with my dad. And after 50 years, I finally found something I can bond with my dad over, which is playing online chess. It's really nice.
That's lovely.
I loved Industry. I thought that was fantastic.
Oh God, yeah, that was amazing.
I think the two things I watched Ozark this year during night feeds. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd watch an episode almost every day. I've just started getting into Schitt's Creek. So I'm only on just finished series 2 of that and loving it.
That's brilliant too. Oh God, that's such a lovely program. Schitt's Creek.
Have you met any other authors in real life, obviously not including each other, and did they exceed your expectations or disappoint you? John?
I've met both Mark. He was probably the first famous author I ever met at the first Thomas and Mercer bash I ever went to, and I had no idea who anybody was, but I knew Mark through you and TBC. And then I've met Louise on a few occasions, haven't we, my darling? There's one author I met at Harrogate who I'm not going to name because it's not really the right thing to do. I'll whisper it to you later. Who I just really didn't like whatsoever. And I was a bit disappointed. I can't remember who it is.
Was that me as well?
Yes.
Somebody really famous, was it?
I don't know about really famous. Well, he or she. I've had quite a few books out. You would know. The three of us would know who he was. But
Okay.
yeah, I just wasn't really a fan. And now you're both about to tell me that he's going to be your.
I know. Well, yeah. Tell us when we go off air. You need to tell us now.
Deal.
I've had one really awkward author encounter, which was with, and this wasn't his fault. So I'm sure he's a lovely person. I met Michael Connolly, and he was the first sort of crime writer that I really, really loved. And I was at a party in New Orleans at a festival, and I was like, oh my God, Michael Connolly's over there. And this person said, oh, I'll come, I'll introduce you. And it was just the most awkward kind of 30 seconds or minute of my life. He was just like, hi. And then I couldn't think of anything to say. He clearly wasn't interested. And I was just like, okay. And every time it has slightly ruined his books for me now, because every time I pick up one of his books, I feel that shiver of horror as I recall that meeting. So it can actually be a really bad idea to meet your writer heroes.
Well,
So
I certainly didn't.
my biggest writer hero was Katie Price. I met her in Grimsby Waterstones.
And how much
She was signing one of them books that she hasn't written. And I thought, oh, we'll just go because it's just down the road. To be fair, she was absolutely lovely. She was really, really lovely. But yeah, we got a signed book.
I met Donna Tartt. Donna Tartt is my writing heroine. And I met her, but only in a queue where I was queuing up to get a book signed. And she shook my hand because I basically flattered her and told her how amazing she was. So that's the trick. If you meet authors, just basically gush at them and tell them how... God, I'd almost drop a neck on them. Yeah, just tell them how brilliant and amazing and lovely they are and how their books are the best you've ever read.
Oh,
and they'll love you for it.
No, that would kill me. I would hate that. I would just find myself...
Really?
It'd be like throwing salt on a snail. I'd just shrivel up to hear that.
Oh, no.
I'm so used to... Maybe it's because I'm so used to Tracy just being a total
you.
that it would just be awful. I wouldn't know how to respond.
Moving on. A couple of questions that sort of link together with fact, but obviously you're all family people now. How does family life affect writing? Any funny stories? And then another one, you're obviously all parents now. Would you ever consider writing books for children? Louise?
Well, my kids have gone, sadly. My children.
When you say gone,
Taken
really well.
That's it. We're still here the other day when we sneaked into another tier and saw them on the doorstep. Yeah, my kids have left home. They're 29 and 20. How is it possible?
Because you're 63, that's why.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, the house is quiet. It's just me and Joe throughout lockdown. So I'm quite lucky in that way. And would I write a children's story? I possibly would. There is an element of a children's story in The Lion Tamer Who Lost, and a few people have said to me, would you write that? And I sometimes think about it, so never say never.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Now, Mark, could we do a children's story like The Magpies for Kids, without the sex?
I don't know. I would find it quite hard to write a children's story. I think writing children's stories is harder than writing for adults. I think there's this kind of perception that it's probably quite easy to knock out a children's book, as all those celebrities who get other people to write books for them, obviously naming no names, but pretty much all of them, seem to believe. I mean, the children make doing anything much harder, don't they? Because the time that they take up and the interruptions. And I was sick. I mean, lockdown, the book that I wrote this year during lockdown, there were points where when the kids were still at home, it was impossible to get anything done or to find any space to concentrate, especially as my 7-year-old would keep coming into my office and firing a Nerf gun at me, which slightly broke the flow of my concentration. But yeah, I don't have any ambition to write children's books.
Okay. John?
Nah.
Okay, to the point.
I've read so many kids' books recently, so I've got a 15-month-old, and so I'm reading the really, really basic ones, which are obviously good for someone with my literary skills. But I've become really critical of them. And the Julia Donaldson ones are just amazing. She's just like catnip for kids. He just sits there entranced by them. But then, you know, like you go to the works and you can buy like 5 books for like £5 or something like that. And you just see kind of there are a lot of bad kids' books out there as well, a lot of really important ones. And kids know, even the little ones know, they will just not go to these particular books, even though they're brand new, but they'll read Room on the Broom, or they'll listen to you read Room on the Broom for about the 40th time that day.
Have you read the Mog books to the...
No, I haven't, not yet.
They are brilliant. They're old. And some of them are so hilariously outdated. Like the way that they refer to babies as it rather than he or she, and just the kind of general lack of health and safety in them. They're so they were my favourite ones to read to my kids, the Mog, so I highly recommend them. Okay. Especially Mog and the Baby is the best one.
Okay. My other half and I know What the Ladybird Heard by Julia Donaldson. We can just sit beside without having to read that book. We'll just sit and take it in turns and do a sentence each.
Yeah.
Heidi would like to know, an important one this, so think about it. Have any of you got a favourite dinosaur? Louise?
Favourite dinosaur?
We'd be a horny one, won't it?
Yeah.
Triceratops.
John, thought about it much?
Tracy Fenton is my favourite dinosaur.
Thank you. I'm a fossil. I'm an old fossil. Thank you. Laurel, and also I would like to know, Laurel Stewart, one of my amazing admin ladies, what is your New Year's resolutions? We'll start with Mark.
Oh God, I'm going to give you a serious one for a change. My New Year's resolution is to try and learn how to relax, because I find it impossible to relax. I'm never able to just sit down and do nothing. And this kind of last few weeks where I've been between books, I've actually been going completely bonkers, just trying to find stuff to do all the time. And I must have tidied the kitchen cupboards and drawers about 20 times. So I need to somehow learn how to relax. So if anyone has any tips how to get my brain to sort of quieten down, that would be great.
John?
I get what Mark's saying definitely about relaxing, because I really struggle to do that. yeah, even at night, I'm just like sitting there rereading some stuff that I've been writing, or I'm just sitting there plotting, or just thinking about book-related stuff that I need to just chill out. So I think I'm going to steal Mark's idea and just try and find a way of relaxing it a little bit more.
Louise.
I wonder if it is a writerly thing, because I agree with both of you. I can never just sit and do nothing. I literally, even when I'm watching TV, I'm usually also reading, or also on the phone, or also talking to somebody. But although I don't drink a lot, I really don't. I literally have drunk nothing during lockdown. I was actually thinking about not drinking ever, as in just never do it again, because I had a few glasses of wine on Christmas Day for the first time in like months, and I really didn't sleep very well, and it really actually made me feel quite depressed. And I just thought, I don't need it. I haven't drunk much this year, so I was thinking about maybe doing that.
And also, you went out and started a fight with a policeman, smashed up a phone.
I mentioned that.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing us down, Louise. That's great. Thank you. Everyone on the comment, I think people have got problems with the actual the viewing of this, because everyone's saying how good you look, Louise, and that they can't believe you've got a child that's 29, and they're all saying how amazing you look. So I think it's
the secret.
The filter.
You know what it is? I've got a really shiny ring.
They were.
Okay, we've got a few more minutes left. I'm just going to wondering whether. That's what my gynecologist looks like.
I had a shiny ring like you. I don't have a shiny ring.
Oh, you've got good lighting behind you, though.
You have got very good lighting.
The Velux going on.
We've had a request for like a Young Guns rap or something. A few people have mentioned. I don't know whether Mark and John.
Hey, tell that jerk to take a hike.
There's something about that guy I don't like.
He don't mean the things he said. Let's get him out of my way, because I'm seeing red. We got plans to make, we got things to buy, and you're wasting time with some creepy guy.
I remember the lyrics of Wham Rap better than I do.
You're not doing the...
Can we do Wham Rap
then?
Hey,
shut up, chick, that's a friend of mine. Just watch your mouth, baby, out of line. Oh. There you go.
I still remember the Wham Rap, but I don't remember, I'm not as good with Young Guns.
Are you a club guy or a pub guy?
Was it club guy or a jet black guy with a hip hi-fi, white cool cat with a trilby hat, maybe leather and studs is where you're at, making the most of every day, don't let hard times stand in your way. Give a wham, give a damn, but don't give a damn because the benefit gang is going to pay.
Well done.
Yeah. And on that note, is there anything more you want to add, guys? I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule in lockdown.
Are we finished?
Well, we could go on if you want. I mean, listen, I've got nothing planned. I'm in lockdown till the 31st of December. Because this is the book club, and I know everyone loves books, I'm going to show you my TBR pile, and you can tell me what to read next. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Please.
These are all proofs, I think, of books that haven't come out yet. I'll show you a couple I just read. So I read The Push.
Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely
phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Brilliant. Unbelievable.
It's very bleak, but really
but it's
good.
Fantastic. Loved it.
So dark. And this one is actually called The Dark. This is Emma Horton. It's set in an Antarctic. I think that's what the cover will actually look like. That's coming out later this year. That was very good. It's about it's a murder mystery set in an Antarctic research station where they have 24-hour darkness.
Ooh.
Okay, so this is my TBR pile. I have got The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearce. I think that's a debut novel. Anybody read that?
No.
No, I was offered it, but I said no.
Then I've got Callie Taylor's new one, C.L. Taylor's new one.
Is that The Holiday?
Holiday.
Yes, that's him. I've got that to read. It's part of my 2020 TBC reading challenge, a book set outside of the UK.
Yeah, and it's about a retreat, isn't it, on a Mediterranean island, desperate strangers gather.
That'd be a good
I've read all of Callie's books, so I definitely will read that.
The Retreat, that would be a good name for a book.
I know. I've got Girl A.
Brilliant. Loved it. Read it.
The most hyped book ever.
Obviously. Until the next.
the book that will define
Yeah.
a decade, it says here.
Yeah. It's good. I'm sure.
Is it
I
that
think
good?
it defined a week rather than a decade.
She got £1 million for that.
But we're not bitter.
And I've got the new Linwood Barclay. Have you got that, Tracy?
I've got that on from NetGalley, yes.
Okay.
I haven't read it yet. Lovely. So
To
you've got.
me, these all look like they're backwards. Do
Yes.
they look fine to you?
No, that's fine. That's fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what shall I read? Shall I read Linwood?
You
Girlie?
can't go wrong with a Linwood.
Girlie, and then you can send it to me.
Yeah.
Everyone looked a bit lukewarm about the sanatorium, so we won't read. So it's between these three.
Which
Do you
one,
think
shall
I
we
would
again?
like Girlie, Tracy?
Yes. I have to try and remember. I read it a few months ago. Yes, I think you will. It's a good book. It is good.
Okay.
Yes. John, what have you got to read? Have you got anything interesting on your TBR? Been sent any proofs?
I'm kind of not really reading that much at the moment. I haven't really had the time or the inclination. And the last one I read was Louise's book, which obviously I loved. I'm kind of trying to choose books that I want to read rather than other people are sending them. This one kind of got my curiosity, called Version Zero.
Ooh.
I
Who's
don't
that
really know
by?
much about it. I think it's a young adult book. I'm going to give that a go tonight anyway. But yeah, I'm trying to just read some stuff that I want to read for a while.
Lovely. Good.
Yeah.
And Louise, you got anything to read?
I've got a confession to make. I am a Mark Edwards virgin, and I have just downloaded The House Guest, and I read the first chapter last night, and so that's what I'm reading. I'm hooked.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mark.
I'm going to speak to him. I can't really lie and say I love these books if I don't at least start reading one.
Mark, tell Louise. Mark, tell Louise my favourite quote from one of your books.
Oh, from /.
What is it? Just tell her.
She had a lovely vagina. I still have it somewhere.
In a jar. Wasn't it in a jar?
Well, yeah, but it's never. The jar is not mentioned. You just infer that it's in a jar. It's a serial killer who.
Thank God it's a romance.
keeps souvenirs from his victims.
Please tell me that's in this book I'm reading then.
No, it's not, unfortunately. That's in /. But I was very proud of that line.
Oh, right. Now, I can understand why. Before we disappear, let me just quickly see if we've got any more questions coming up, which I have no idea. I just need to get my technical guy to come and show me. He's walked off with my mouse. Bear with me. You can't.
Hang on.
You go. You can't see Jack. Jack. Excuse me. Technically, hold on. Get the questions back up again. We'll edit this bit out. We'll edit this bit out.
I thought we were going to play Trivial Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it takes hours.
Oh, look, hang on. I've got Trivial Pursuit right here.
Okay.
Which is,
I
we
bought
would like
it
some
too.
Trivial Pursuit questions.
Ones.
Let's do we choose a category.
Art and literature. Purple.
Okay. John, what's your category?
Entertainment.
Okay, and Louise?
Erotic experiences.
So science and
History.
nature. Right, Tracy, from literature. In The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, the White Witch lures Edmund with which sweet treat?
I know the answer.
Can I pass it? Is this another game? Can I pass it over to Louise, please?
Go on,
Turkish delight.
Turkish delight, correct. Okay, so Louise, your science and nature. Hang on, which colour is science and nature? Is it
Green.
Green, okay. What's the most common use? Hang on, no, this isn't science and nature.
Very loose subject.
Anywhere.
Yeah, okay, well it comes under science. What is the most common use for the abbreviation OMW in text lingo? So if you're writing a text message and you write OMW, what does it stand for?
Oh my word.
Oh no, on my way.
On my way, correct. Well, you two should have swapped categories.
Yeah.
And John, entertainment. The title character in which children's TV series is a magical cloth cat with pink and cream stripes whose owner is called Emily.
Either Tracy Fenton or Bagpuss. There's very little difference between the two.
That's what my husband calls me, Baggy Puss.
Oh.
Do you want another one?
Fair, yep, go.
Yeah.
Go on then, right, Tracy. Which family, introduced in 1948 by J.D. Salinger in A Perfect Day for Banana Fish, also appeared in his last published work in 1965?
Anyone help me? I have no idea. Can I
I
not do
wouldn't
the
know
published
that.
works on John Mars? Because I'm pretty good at that.
Shall I ask you? That was the Glass family. Let me ask you another one. I'm trying to find one that you might know.
Thanks. Don't laugh. Who just laughed?
Okay, which New York artists Balloon Dog Orange sculpture sold at auction for $58 million?
Oh, I know this. I picture it.
A New York artist Balloon Dog sculpture sold at auction for $58 million.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pass on that one.
Don, do you know it?
Jeff Koons.
Yeah, Jeff Koons, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, Louise, what is the common name for the third molars inside a human mouth? What are the teeth at the back of your mouth called?
Well, she wouldn't have them.
Oh, wisdom teeth.
Correct. And finally, John, in which category did Matt Damon win his first Oscar?
Oh, wasn't it? Is it Best Original Screenplay?
Correct. Well done. Yeah,
Wow.
it was best. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Good Will Hunting.
Thank
Good
you.
Will Hunting, yes. And who did he co-write it with?
Ben Affleck.
Correct.
Right, well, I feel like we're on University Challenge. Thank you, guys. I just want to say once again, thank you so much for taking part in my first Tracy Talks 2. And now I know what not to do. So for my next one, on Wednesday, if anyone wants to watch, we've got Elizabeth Haynes. We have got, hang on, I'm going to now forget who else I've got now. I've got Harriet Tice and I've got Liz Nugent. So that should be a good one.
You've got the big guns.
And then, and we've got some really big names coming up next year. You were obviously just the trial.
You've got J.K. Rowling.
I've got Stephen King, J.K. Rowling, and I have got William Shakespeare. They're taking part. That's going to be a good one. And then we've also got Sarah Pinborough's coming on board, Rowan Coleman, Amanda Prowse, Lisa Jewell, and a few others, a few surprises. But I want to say thank you very much, guys. Thank you for also taking part in the book club and making it such a wonderful place to be. Thank you for writing some of my favourite books. And John, thank you for being you. And I love you all. Happy New Year. Stay safe. Keep writing. And that's it, really. I just want to say over and out, and we love you all. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you. And I'm waiting for John to tell us about the person who didn't get on.
Oh, okay. I'm going to stop recording now. Then hold on. We'll stop recording and then we'll do the bloopers bits after. What am I pressing?
Okay.